Hey everyone. Today we're going to do a deep dive on the new software called MICA. This is going to be taking place of the existing software we're using right now called Encircle. The goal is to take all the documents that we use on a day-to-day basis for each job and have it all be digital. With MICA, you'll be able to take all your job photos, enter in all your air and moisture readings, get your work off, your COS, and all other related documents for the job signed, create a nice drawing report that we'll send out to the insurance company as soon as the job is complete. So what I'm going to do is start a job right from the beginning and run it all the way to the end to show you guys the step by step on how this is done, how MICA works, what it looks like, and hopefully answer any questions that you guys might have on the way. So let's get into it. So this is going to be the main screen. I'm currently using MICA Mobile. This is on my phone. This is on an iPhone. All the tablets should taken care of. But this is what the main screen on MICA Mobile is going to look like. In order to get started, we're going to go here to My Losses. That's where pretty much everything is going to originate from. Sometimes this takes a second. Just click on it and wait till it gets into this main screen. So this main screen here is where we're going to be able to see all of our losses. Um, so to create a new loss, if you look in the top right corner, there's three little dots. If we click on that, we're going to click on Create New Loss. Any area with a red asterisk means that it's required before we can move on to the next step to actually get into the claim. So first step is the location. There's only one option for this one, so go ahead and just select IND 448 and hit done. If the insured has an insurance company that they're providing to us, there is a long list of companies here. We can go through and select whatever one that they are a part of. So for this situation, we'll just go ahead and use, oops, let's go ahead and use Cincinnati. If they're providing us with a claim number, go ahead and enter it here. For the loss cause, for this one, we're going to do a water loss. So we'll just say flood. And the source, we'll say was a water heater. The job type on this one, we're going to have a big water. Claim type, obviously, whatever job we're going into, click the appropriate one. For this one, it's going to be residential. And down below, under owner information, that's where we're going to enter in the homeowner's name, their address, and all their information here. So for this one, I'm just going to label it test. Next one is the address. Let's just say 1234 Willow Lane. The city, say it's Grand Rapids. Oops. Now, for some reason, it's not letting us enter in a country or a state. So we'll just skip down to the zip code. So for risk location, go ahead and hit this copy owner info button. That's just going to essentially paste all the info you just typed in down here so you don't have to type it all twice. All right, if you go up to the right-hand corner and hit save. Again, sometimes it takes a second. All right, and that's going to bring you back out to this main screen and showing you that the loss is created, and it should be at the top of your list. So once you see this test claim or whatever claim you just started, go ahead and hit the start button on the bottom right corner. And the first thing it's going to do is bring you into the trip manager page. So we're going to start with a start time. So let's say it was today at 3 o'clock. Oops. Once that's saved, hit save. And it'll show that check mark to show that it was saved. So the initial trip was today at 3 o'clock. Go back into the home screen. And the next step we're going to want to do is most of the time we're going to take some photos. But before we start taking some photos, there's a couple steps here that you're seeing with the red boxes next to them. We'll get into all of those throughout the process. You're going to want to go into your phone's settings really quick before you get into anything. And this will only have to do this the first time you use MICA. Let's go into your phone settings. find MICA. You're going to want to click this box here. I already have it off, but this one right here, save copy of pictures to photo library. If this is toggled on, every single time you take a picture in MICA, it's going to take every single photo you take and put it into your phone's photo gallery. Pretty sure we all don't want a bunch of job photos on our personal phones. So go ahead and click that off, and that's just going to keep all the photos on MICA and on MICA only. Once you've done that, you can go back into the app. And a lot of this is going to be the step-by-step guide where it's going to have where you start with dates and you work your way down. Once that box has been completed, it'll either turn orange or a green to show that it's done. So if you click into dates, it's going to ask you about a couple questions here. A lot of times us PMs will have this filled out already, but it's just ask some general questions about the lost date, when did we receive it, first contacted, when did we inspect the site, when did we start. So a lot of times these will usually always be filled in. If not, just go ahead and toggle some of those for the appropriate times. In order to start taking some photos of the areas, you're going to have to go into floor plan. And the first thing it's going to ask us is the level. So it's going to ask us second floor, main level, basement. What level are we creating? So for this one, we're going to have a main level. So when we click into the plus sign in there, you can click, scroll down, find whatever level that you're working on. So let's say main level, hit save on the right-hand corner. In order to add a room to that level, so let's say we're trying to add a living room, click on main level. It's going to have a little drop down and go over to areas on the right-hand side. Hit that plus button in the top right corner. And the type just basically means what room. So you click on type and you can scroll down until you find whatever room you're looking for. So in our case, we'll click on living room. So again, like we were saying on the startup, anywhere with a red asterisk means that it's a required field before it'll allow you to move on. So in this situation, it's requiring that we enter dimensions of the room before we can create the room. Now, MICA is smart where it will actually help us to estimate how much drying equipment we need based off of the room size and how much of the room was damaged. So that's why it's asking for that. If you have the means of taking measurements, by all means, go ahead. If you don't have a tape measure or laser measure or anything on you, what I say to do to speed it up for the meantime, let's just add in the room as a 12 by 12. Now, obviously, like I said, if you have the means of taking measurements, get it as close as possible. If not, us PMs can add that information. Click save. And after you have the dimensions, your room, you can save your room. If you go back, you'll notice that floor plan is now green. And if you wanted to add a basement, again, it's the same steps. So for this one, we're just going to have a one room. All right, so in order to start taking pictures of whatever rooms you created, now that you have your floor plan and the level and the rooms created, go down towards the bottom where it says pictures. External basically means the outside of the home. So we're always going to want one photo, at least one photo of the outside of every home. But down here, if you look at main level, it has a little arrow pointing to living room. That's where we're going to want to add the photos of the room. So we don't want to add the living room photos in just the main level section. We want to add each room photos to its appropriate room. So click that blue plus sign next to the room. It's going to give you two options, a camera or photo library. So camera, if you click on that, you can add photos live time on site as you go. You can add as many as you want. Click here, take a picture. Once you're done, click that X on the bottom right-hand corner. One more thing in here. If you go into your camera, you can also add a video. Once you're done, just click the X. If you had photos that were on your phone that you took of the job beforehand and they're just on your phone's photo library, you can also add them to the room by clicking the plus sign, click photo library, and then you can select whatever photos. Again, please make sure that you're adding them to the appropriate rooms. You can add those right from your photo library and upload them to MICA from your phone. All right, so after you've added all the photos that you need per each room, go ahead and click back. And MICA right now is going to act as your moisture mapping software as well. So as of right now, we have our technicians walking in with paper packets that they're going to write a sketch on, and they're going to put moisture points on and put daily readings on the pieces of paper. Like I was saying earlier, our goal is to try and get as digital as possible and reduce the amount of paper. So this MICA will actually not only take your photos, but also act as your flood packet. So we're going to start by going in, just going to ask a couple questions about the rooms. Go into damage info underneath floor plan. And this is just going to ask essentially how affected is the room. So if you click into living room, we'll say that the floor was completely affected. So over here, you can go hit this percentage button and you can slide this up and down for however much was affected. If it was 75%, just about half. Let's say ours is 100%. The whole room was affected. It's asking affected upper wall square footage. This is over 2 feet. So if you have wet walls, but it's below the 2 foot line, don't worry about this one. Any wet ceilings, again, the same thing. And then the last thing it's going to ask is for class and category. Now it's already kind of giving you the answers for the class based on the amount of damage info you're putting in here. It's recommended to be a class 2. So we'll say this is category 2. And we can hit save. Has the green check mark saying that it was saved. Now your damage info turned green. Okay, so after we've entered in the damage info and told MICA essentially how badly affected the rooms were, obviously we're going to need some drying equipment. So in order to add some drying equipment, MICA is going to have us create a drying chamber. So a drying chamber, basically that's an area where, obviously the areas that are affected is in there, but the areas that we can manipulate the humidity, we're trying to control the moisture levels. It's more of an isolated area in the home that we're trying to focus on drying. Where we want to control what the humidity is via dehumidifiers. We want to bring down those moisture levels with our air movers. MICA needs a drying chamber in order to for us to place drying equipment. So if we go into drying chambers, this one's going to be easy because we only have one room. So click on that plus button in the top right corner. We can just leave it as drying chamber 1. Now, if you had a basement and an upper level, obviously you would have 3 different drying chambers. You could have drying chamber 1 be upstairs, 2 be on the main level, 3, however you want it. You can name them differently. Main level, upstairs, basement, whatever you want to call them. I'll go ahead and hit save. And again, click on the drying chamber just like we did the levels when we created what level the room was on. Click on that, hit areas. And we're basically just hit this plus button, and we're just linking the living room. Hit save. So now this living room is part of this drying chamber. So now the drying chamber is green. Now we can add our equipment. So we go into equipment. Want to click on the room that we're adding whatever piece. So for, again, only one room. So click on the living room. And here you have a bunch of different options of different pieces of drying equipment that you can add. We're only going to be doing air movers and a dehumidifier. So go next to the piece of equipment that you want to add. So in this situation, we'll go air mover. And this is why the damage info tile was important, because if we don't enter in the correct damage information, the air mover count will go up or down according to what we're entering. So this is recommending 4. So we want to first of all put in what kind of air mover. So centrifugal air movers, pretty much the standard one that we all have here at Modernistic. Count. So if you put 3, 4, we want to be, the whole purpose of using MICA is it's going to help us to make sure we're putting ample pieces of equipment in each job. So we really don't want to be less than what it's recommending because we get paid per air mover per day. So it's pretty important that we are at least matching the count that it's recommending. Obviously, there's going to be some times where we're going to need some more air movers. We just have to go into the damage info and make sure that you're entering the correct amount for the walls and ceilings and floors. And if it ever flags you, there's always a spot you can add a note. If it says, hey, you're adding more than we recommend, you can put a note kind of explaining why, because the insurance company is going to look at that and see that you're adding more than what MICA recommends. So So we'll say we have 4 air movers, hit save, and we want to set the start time. So we'll say they were started today at 3 o'clock. This is important because most jobs are billed not just by the day, but some program jobs go as far as the hour. So we want to make sure that if it was started at 3 o'clock, we're saying it started right at 3 o'clock. So we can go ahead and say these were started. So these are now actively running. There are 4, and it's going to break down each piece that you have in the house. Dehumidifier. Up here, if you look at the top, it says that it's recommending 24 pints per day. That's what this number in parentheses to the right is the pints per day. So I always go with the standard, just Phoenix 200 HT. Click save. There's just one of them, so we'll keep it count 1 and hit save. Again, today at 3 o'clock. And start. If we hit the back button, we can look at the living room, and this says what's being used. We have 4 air movers and a dehumidifier, so we know we are all set. And the equipment box also turned green. All right, so after you've entered in all your equipment, this is the part of MICA that is going to start taking over all the paperwork that we use on the day-to-day job for our flood packets. This is where MICA is really going to help put everything digitally. So if we go into readings here, this is where we're going to enter in all of our air readings and our moisture readings, dehumidifier readings, all that good stuff. So if we go outside, this is all handwritten again right now, as of now, on paper. So this is hopefully going to eliminate all that. So for the outside readings, just like you would on a normal job on your paper, click new reading. Add the temperature. I'll say today was 25 degrees and at 95% RH. Just hit save, and it's done. And you just work down the list. Unaffected, new reading. Let's say it was 71 degrees at 45%. And up top here, if you see initial trip, this is basically going off because we only made 1 trip, and we'll get into adding the monitoring trips afterwards, but this is only 1 trip right now. So it's showing on January 30 at 3 o'clock p.m. We go into the atmospheric, so inside west. So this is inside the drying chamber. So again, add your reading. .58, hit save. Dehumidifier. 88, 29, and save. So that pretty much will take care of the air readings for your initial day. And you can go into your moisture. This is the moisture mapping part. So again, we only have, it'll break it down by the level in the room. So this one we have the living room. And we had the floor was the only thing that we put in our damage info that was wet. So we'll click on floor. It says add reading with new material. So this is where we can say it was the floor, and now it's saying what material is on the floor. So you can pick through a whole bunch of different kinds of materials, whatever material is on the floor, walls, ceilings, whatever you're trying to read that has moisture that we're trying to dry. It has a whole list of it here. So click on the correct one. We're going to have carpet. Now this next one under meter is important to make sure that we're all using this correct one. Make sure we're using the generic non-invasive model 0 to 999. That is the moisture percentage points. So different ones here, it's not allowing us to get under 70. So we want to make sure we're on the generic non-invasive model. This is going to be the correct meter to use for all our moisture points. Okay, so obviously with it being the floor, the height is 0, it's on the ground. So our dry standard floor is usually about 10%. And our reading on day 1, say it's saturated, so 99%. And hit save. And obviously if you're taking more points, if there was walls affected, just same process. You could put the surface to the wall, ceiling, floor, whatever you're trying to read. Add the correct material, whether it's drywall, wood flooring, ceramic tile, and enter in the correct readings. Okay. So that'll do it for the first day. Okay, so up to this point, we've entered in pretty much everything on the first day. We have our readings, air readings, moisture readings, added our equipment, our drying chambers, damage info, and our floor plan. Um, so that's a lot of it is for the first day. The box up here above floor plan is forms. This is where all of our documents, work authorization, certificate of satisfaction, any forms that may be needed on any loss, our waiver, the water damage release here. In order to get these signed, so we're at the very bottom here, work authorization. In order to get that signed, click that. We'll bring up this form here, scroll all the way down to the very last page. And this is where the employee can sign and the customer as well. So all you have to do is click that blue box. So we'll click on employee signature. It's just saying, make sure you read it, say continue, turn your phone sideways, sign, hit done. Give your phone to the customer as well. Once they've read over this, they will also go ahead and sign. All right, and if you hit, just double check that the signatures are there, hit back, and then you should see work authorization have a green check mark. That means it's been signed and saved. And you do the same thing with a certificate of satisfaction, water damage release. In the event that no one is there to sign it and we need to send it out, at the moment, MICA does not text the documents like Encircle did. Sounds like they're working on that. So we have the email option as of right now. In order to send it, this little mailbox in the top right to the left is save. Click that. Continue. You can click down here as far as what signature you want them to be presented with. So obviously, keep the customer signature. Type in their email right here. And then if you want to add a message, you can go ahead and do that just with some instructions. And then as soon as you've entered the email and clicked on whatever signature you want them to sign, upper right corner is a little paper airplane. Hit that and that'll send it via email. That's pretty simple. So the only thing left to do for this day, obviously, is just the actual work to be done. As far as MICA goes, we have all of our readings entered, our forms are signed, pictures are taken. So the next most important step after this, as soon as you're done for the day or for the job on MICA, go under this last option here, one of the last options for export. Click on export. And this button that says export to MICA Cloud, that is crucial every single day to click that as soon as you're done. When you have the file brought onto your device and you're adding photos and readings and whatever you're adding onto there, that's only visible to you on your device. What you do when you click export to MICA Cloud, when you click that, that's going to basically take all the information on your phone and send it out to the cloud, meaning that your project manager, another technician, or anybody can then go find that loss now and they can upload it, and everything that you've done, they can now see it on their device. But unless you hit export, all that information that you've added is stuck on your phone or your device or tablet or whatever you're using, and it's stuck there until you physically send it out. This has to be done every single day at the end of each stop. The new start monitors, whatever. Anytime you add anything to a MICA report, you must hit export to MICA Cloud. Otherwise, nobody else will be able to see anything you've done. So you might be getting calls from your project manager asking where are the photos. If you took all of them, chances are you probably did not hit export to MICA Cloud. So let's get in the habit of tapping that button at the end of every single time you've done anything to the file. And I'll just click it here just so we all can see what it does. Just click it once. It takes about 5-10 seconds, and then you're done. Okay, says loss was uploaded successfully. Hit done, and you're good. So if we're back the next day for the monitor, obviously, like we were saying, that this is going to be in place of our flood packets. So we're back on day two to perform a monitor for the loss that we're trying to dry right now. All the equipment is actively running. All the photos from day one are entered. All the damage info is good. We just need to come back and say, how is it drying? We need to update our moisture points. So we're going to go into readings. All right. And then up in the top right corner, there's a little calendar. Click that. And our initial trip is at the moment the only trip we've made. So this is day two. So click on add new trip. And we're going to say let's say it's a different day. But let's just say 4 o'clock. Let's just say it's the following day at 4 o'clock. Hit save. Yes. Go back. And now you can enter in your readings for the separate days. So I'll make this quick. New reading. Save. Atmospheric readings. And again, make sure you're adding them in the right trip so you can see initial trip and then a monitoring trip. So make sure you're adding them on the correct day. And last, the dehumidifier. And then our moisture readings. So on the first day, we said it was saturated at 99%. So we're going to go back into floor where it has that question mark on the left side. First day, it says our reading was 99%. So on monitoring trip for the following day, we're going to add reading. This is going to be on the same spot. So it's saying you are going to the same spot on the floor. And today, let's say it's at 45%. Hit save. And go back. So check mark there. So now we know that our second day monitoring was entered. I go back. And again, export. So that all those readings that we just took get sent to the cloud. Usually there's at least 2 days worth of monitoring, but for time's sake, we will skip the second day monitoring and just act as if we are on the final day ready to pick all the dried equipment up. So we're going to go into readings for the final day. Again, click that calendar button, add a new trip. Let's say it's the following day at, let's say, 5 o'clock p.m. If it's your final day and you are picking everything up, make sure to click that final trip toggle button. Make sure that's on because that's going to tell MICA that we are done. Hit save. Again, just enter in all your readings for your day. Say 73 and 41. And lastly, the dehumidifier. All right. And then we'll go back into our moisture reading. And we're going to let MICA know that everything is completely dry. So our dry standard, our goal was 10%. So on the final day, we want to say that we reached 10%. Hit save. And go back. All right. All right, so now that we took our final readings, it showed everything's dry. We're going to go into equipment and click on the living room. Everything was started. It shows the start date. Go down to the bottom left corner and hit stop all running. So you don't have to click into each single one individually and stop them. We're going to click stop all running. And this is basically going to say, when did you turn them off? When did you pick them up? So we'll say today's date. So stop. All right. All right, so you can see that it says started at and stopped at. So all these pieces of equipment have been stopped and are no longer running. So we'll go ahead and hit back. And the dates up here, if you want to go up here, just hit job completion. It'll be at the time that we stopped the equipment. It'll be the time we're considering the job complete. Tryout confirmed. All right, save. Date is green. One of the last steps, obviously, is getting that certificate of satisfaction signed from the homeowner, stating that they are happy with the job in general. The equipment's been picked up, and this is one of the forms that insurance needs before we can even get paid. All right, so let them read over it. Contractor, so we can sign our part. They'll sign their part. And back. And we can see that's a green check mark next to certificate of satisfaction. Back. Obviously, make sure we're taking photos of our meter, reading dry and all of those. So update our photos. And then after that, that's about it. So as long as we have our readings showing that everything is dry, equipment showing that it's picked up, and all of our forms signed, go to export. Export to MICA Cloud. And once you get that notification that it was uploaded successfully, again, only takes 5 to 10 seconds. Go ahead and hit done. So after that final export is done, we should be all set. So it seems like a lot of steps, but ultimately you're spending just as much time writing down on all the flood packet and all the papers, trying to sketch it out, your moisture map, and write all your moisture points and stuff like that. So it's really just putting everything in one spot, saving a bunch of paper, making sure it's all in the same place, all the photos, moisture readings, equipment count, it's all in the same spot, and then it's really making it convenient for everybody. So hopefully everyone's questions that they may have had regarding MICA were answered. If not, please get with your project manager or any project manager across the state. We'd be more than happy to help. Other than that, that is MICA in a nutshell.